Hello and welcome to the Comedian's Paradise. This is a
Ooh.
podcast where we speak to mavericks across the comedy world. Now, today's guest, if you've seen Beverly Hills Cop, if you've seen Rush Hour 2 with Chris Tucker, if you've seen a Police Academy, we see a guy who is going to tell us the truth about being a cop and being a comedian.
Uh,
He is the man who's been going for 30 years in comedy, no, 30, over 30 years in comedy, and
Over
he is the
30, yeah,
guy who
maybe coming up
arrests
on 40.
anyone that doesn't like his jokes. Please welcome the brilliant and fantastic Kevin Jordan.
Hey,
Where
I gotta get an applause machine back in here with me.
now, to anyone that's listening right now, and a lot of the listeners are probably in Europe or in the UK and they haven't heard of you, tell us a bit about who you are and how you became a comedian and your journey from a cop, Los Angeles police cop, into being a comedian.
Oh, okay. Well, like I said, I wasn't, I didn't want to be a comedian and I didn't want to be a police officer either. I didn't want to be either one of those two. I happened to fill out an application at this job fair for a police department. I had just moved to Los Angeles from New York and I needed a job. So, you'd fill out every application you get. Well, sure enough, the fire department and the police department took my applications. And lo and behold, I get hired as a police officer. And I'm going through the academy and blah, blah, blah. And I get on the job, yada, yada. And, so I still didn't want to be a police officer, but I'm a police officer. So, you're doing your job and all sorts of things. And one day I'm hanging out with a buddy of mine, a guy named Glenn Thomas, and he was a musician. And he used to go hang out at comedy clubs. So I went with him one night and we went to the Improv in Melrose. And everybody who went up to me wasn't funny. I just didn't think anybody was funny. He cracking up, he on the floor, blah, blah, blah. So we start talking about who's funny, what's funny, how you be funny, blah, blah, blah. And so he dared me to go up on stage. So I said, yeah, I'll do that. So the next week I had to do 5 minutes, had to write 5 minutes. So I wrote 5 minutes material. The next week we go back, I put my name in the hat, and they pull out my name like fifth. So it was a really good crowd. I go on stage, and like I said, you had to do 5 minutes. And I think out of the 5 minutes, I remembered 3, because 5 minutes is a long time when you're first starting out. But I'm telling my jokes, I'm telling a couple of police jokes. Well, the audience goes crazy. They're laughing hard, and I'm like, oh my God. And it felt so good. It like hit me in the heart. It felt so good. I go, you know what? This is what I should be doing. And I'm talking to my buddy Glenn, and we're talking all night about, oh man, I told that one joke. Oh, and I forgot this one joke, and blah, 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 blah. But every week then I'd come back to the Improv and other comedy clubs, and I would do it over and over and over, 5 minutes, whatever it allows, 6 minutes, clubs all over Los Angeles, right? So one day I'm doing a show at the Playboy Club in Century City in LA. Well, Century City happened to be my patrol area as well. So I do the show. I'm running late for roll call, running late to the station. I get my car, I'm speeding, and I get pulled over. I get pulled over by my own brothers and police officers from the station. Well, I did get out the car. I get out the car. They recognize, say, well, wait, they recognize it's me. And they go, where are you coming from? What are you speeding for? So I tell them, I said, listen, I was just doing a comedy show at the Playboy Club. I'm late for roll call. I got to go. They say, all right, well, go. Well, that story climbs the chain of command, right? Gets all the way up to my lieutenant. And he calls me in the office and he says, listen, are you, you got a second job? I go, no. He goes, what about this comedy stuff? How about this comedy stuff you're doing? Hang on. Let me turn my phone off. He says, what about this comedy stuff you're doing at the Playboy Club? So I say, well, that's not a second job. I'm not getting paid for it. I'm not making any money. So he goes, well, you know what? What's going to happen one day if you pull over somebody and they saw your show? Well, I said, well, if he thought I was funny, I'd just let him go. But if he didn't, I'd write him a ticket. Well, yeah, well, that joke landed like a lead balloon. My lieutenant didn't like that. So he goes, listen, I can't tell you not to do it, but I can highly suggest to you that you don't do it. Well, all I really heard was, "Don't get caught." That's what I was hearing.
Uh,
Right. So now I'm still doing comedy. I'm doing it underground places and places, just keeping my mouth shut about where I'm going and what I'm doing. Well, one day I go back to the Playboy Club, and I just go back just to watch the show. And the woman who ran the place, I think her name was like Candy Kane. She was an old ex Playboy bunny with big bazungas, and
okay.
So she says to me, "Hey, are you in trouble?" Because she knew I was a cop. And she says, "Are you in trouble at your job?" I go, "I don't think so." And she goes, I said, "Why do you ask?" She goes, "Well, there was some undercover cops in here looking for you." I go, "How you know they were undercover?" She goes, "I was married to a cop. Cops come in here all the time. I know when undercover cops come in." She goes, "They were asking about you and they're being very specific and blah, blah, blah. I want to know where you would do and what you talk about." I say, "Wow, my own department trying to backstab me and sent undercover cops looking for me." I said, "Wow, ain't that something?" So, but I keep doing comedy. I just keep a low profile. So about a couple of months later, we're having a Christmas party for the police station, and my sergeant says to me, "Hey, Jordan, you still do that comedy stuff?" I go, "No, I gave that up." He goes, "Yeah, because we could use you for the Christmas show." So I go, "Oh, great. I'll put something together for you." So now I'm excited again because I figure if they see me, they'll change their minds about me, right? So the Christmas party comes in, and again, big crowd. Now, at that time, I was working West LA. Now, West LA is probably the most expensive division in all of Los Angeles outside of Beverly Hills because it has
Oh,
Brentwood, it has Malibu, it has the Palisades, it has all those ritzy areas, Bel Air, all those areas, right? That's my division.
oh,
So a lot of mucky mucks at this Christmas party. Matter of fact, the chief of police is at the Christmas party. So they introduced me, and I go up and I do like 15 minutes of material about being a police officer. The place goes crazy. They're loving it. All the officers are loving it. All the supervisors hate it. I'm just making jokes about the department and blah, blah, blah. And here's this young kid. He only been on the job a year. He's saying all this crazy stuff. So okay. So people are, "Oh, Jordan, oh, you have a career waiting for you in comedy, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada." So a couple of days later, I'm out on patrol. I get a call on my radio. "Hey, Jordan, come back to the station. You have a phone call." Because this is before cell phones and all that. So I said, "Wow, really? Okay, who could be calling me?" So I get to the station, and it's on the other line. It's a guy named Deputy Chief Wyndham. He's number 2 command in LAPD at that time. And he's on the other line. And he says to me, "I just want to let you know that me and Chief Gates thought that your performance the other night was the worst thing we've ever seen. It
whoa.
wasn't funny. It wasn't this, blah, blah, blah." He just goes on and on. And he said, "If you don't like being a policeman, then get the blank out of here," and blah, 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 yada, yada. I say, "Wow, holy man." so, yeah. So after that, I was like, you know what? Maybe I just need to start looking other places and think about doing other things. But I kept doing the policeman. I kept being a comedian. Just like I said, I would do it on the side and keep my mouth shut. And I didn't. And then I was at a comedy club called the Ice House in Pasadena, and the owner saw me perform there, and he says to me, he goes, "You're funny enough. 6 months, you won't even need that police department. You can quit and be a full-time comedian." I go, "Really?" I go, "Wow, okay." So he books me at 2 clubs, one in Houston, one in Indianapolis, 4-week run. And so I had to take I took a leave of absence from the police department. And back then, this is when comedy was like, we were like rock stars, man. Comedians were just, that was the next big wave of entertainment. Everybody loved comedians, and you could do no wrong. So I do 2 weeks in Houston, kill it. It's a lot of fun, have a blast. I do 2 weeks in Indianapolis. That's even better than Houston. I come back to LA, and I'm on patrol one day with my partner, and he says to me, How was that trip?" I go, "Oh man," I tell him, "I'm excited. And I said, "You know what? I'm thinking about quitting." And he says to me, "Well, you can't quit because you just bought a house, you just bought a new car, You stuck here like the rest of us. And when he said that, that was the switch that threw me, that said, you know what? I don't want to ever feel like I'm stuck somewhere, or I don't want to feel like I have to be somewhere. I want to, you want to follow your heart and give this thing a try. So about a year and a half later after that, I quit and I just chased comedy full time. That was it.
And it was a seamless transition. You didn't have to work another job after that. It's just boom.
No,
Yeah.
no. You know what? Like I said, back then there was enough road work and other stuff that you could keep and make a living. Um, it, and like I said, I had just bought a house. And my house note was my mortgage was only $700, so that was a godsend. Oh,
Whoa.
here's the best part. So when I quit the police department, all the money that I had put into my pension, they gave it back to me, and $15,000 too much. So, I got a letter in the mail saying, "Hey, we overpaid you. We need the 15 grand back." I go, "Yeah, that's that." They still waiting for that money. So, but yeah, it's the transition. It was the trend to move over. Like I said, I started doing USO and touring the world with the USO, and back then there was a lot of work, and even the local gigs paid decent. So like I don't know how these new comics do it now, where you got to pay to go up, or all this other craziness, or you get $20 but you get it 5 weeks from now. So I don't know how they make a living, but back then you could do pretty good on the road and locally, and pay
Mm.
your bills. So it worked out.
Yeah, it was that I heard a similar sort of thing in the UK as well. And there's a thing called jonglers that used to pay like £300 a gig, and they'll do three
Uh-huh.
shows in one night, and that would be set them up for like a few weeks. But now, like they'll get maybe 150, and there's a lot
Yeah.
less spots. And there's a thing that they always say in the UK now is it's not a comics game anymore; it's a promoters game.
Yeah, that's true. The law of supply and demand. You know, I remember when I first started out, this was in a comedy club. Headliners were getting 5 grand and 6 grand to headline. That's just for the week, Tuesday through Saturday, Tuesday through Sunday, getting 5 grand, 6 grand. And I thought, man, when I get to be a headliner, man, this is gonna be great. I only have to work 1 week a month, blah blah blah. Well, by the time I got up to the headliner slot, the comedy boom had busted and the floor had fell out, and clubs were paying like 1,500 no air. You had to pay your own airfare and things like that. Because when I was coming up, when I was a feature act, uh, clubs would send you an airline ticket. They'd fly you in. They give you a rental car and all this stuff. But when I got up to that level, they give you 1,500, 1,800 flat, no airfare. You had to get there on your own. If you wanted a car, you had to go rent your own car. So yeah, so I see we're in the only business where the money has steadily gone down every single year we've been in it.
Yeah, and the cost of living has gone up.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's because they can. I think, isn't it? I mean, there's so many people are
Hey,
desperate, and
hey,
the big
right.
the
You
comedy store, the big comedy clubs. There's so many people that want to do them. Like, if you kick up a
Yep.
fuss, like, all right, we won't book you then. We can book
Yeah,
this
hey,
guy, that
that's
guy.
right.
Unless you're Bill Burr,
We'll
you could kick up a fuss. Everyone
right.
else is you accept it.
Exactly. We ain't got no choice. Where else we gonna go? And I remember back in the day, um, when I first started, I was new, but comics were trying to unionize. But the problem with that is comics will backstab each other for a gig, or where one comic says, "Well, I ain't doing it for that money." Another comic comes in and goes, "I'll do it. I'll do it for half that." So we slit each other's throats instead of helping each other up.
And if they're gonna slit each other's throat, do it in a smarter way, not like that. Not
Yeah,
with the quick
right,
money.
right. Not when you're costing us money. We trying to get everybody's money up.
Yeah, there's I'm not going to say the name of the organization, but there's a well-known organization in the UK that runs a lot of comedy gigs, and they've been
Oh,
known. So
okay.
if a comedy gig pays 3,000, this individual will go up to them and say, "Oh, we'll run a gig for you, but for only for 500." But he gets
Man,
paid for
yeah.
the gig, and
We got
then
a we got a whole bunch of those in LA and everywhere else where the gig pays $5,000 and they offer you $50 and pocket that other 4.5. You know what? I had a comedy club once. I was in Portland, and the owner of the club says he belonged to some, I don't know, organization, some kind of frat party or some kind of country club. So I was the headliner at the comedy club. So he says, "Hey, listen, before you come to the club Saturday, go to my country club, do a show there, get the check, bring it back to me, and I'll pay you $500." I go, "Oh, okay, fine. A little extra money on the side." I said, "Fine." So sure enough, I go to the country club, I do the show, blah, blah, blah. On my way out, this guy goes, "Hey, man, you were real funny. Oh, man, you were so funny. You were worth $2,500. I go, $2,500? He goes, "Yeah, man, that's what we paying you." I go, "Oh." He goes, "Aren't we paying you 25?" I go, "I'm getting 5." He goes, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yeah." So he goes, "Wait right here." He goes in the office. He changes the check to my name, $2,500. He says, he says, "You go give this to Joe." Joe is the owner of the comedy club. He said, "Go give this to Joe. And if he has a problem with it, you tell him to call me." So I go, sure, I go to the comedy club. I give the check to Joe. Joe goes, "Hey, why is this check in your name?" I go, so I explained to him the story. Hey, he just told me, and he said that you for him to call you. So needless to say, Joe's a little pissed. He was furious that he had to give me all, because Joe was going to keep that rest of that money. He was going to keep the $2,000, but he had to give me the 2,500.
oh, that's
So
good.
yeah, there's a lot of weasels. I guess there's weasels on both sides of the pond, I guess, as they say, right?
Definitely, definitely, definitely a lot of that. I mean, definitely, yeah. Um, how do you handle them? I mean, you being in the comedy business for a very long time and work as a cop, that must have helped.
Yeah, it has paid off. The one thing the police department taught me about being in front of an audience or a crowd or thing, there's a thing called command presence. Your presence defines who you are and how people look at you and see you. And that's like, that's like when a comic tells a new joke. You can always tell when he tells a new joke because he tells it with no conviction. And I always tell these guys, do the new jokes the same way you do your regular material. Sell it to them hard. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the feedback you're gonna get. Because you know what, feedback may be bad, but we get bad feedback all the time, so that's no big deal. They ain't gonna hurt the rest of your whole overall show. But yeah, but command presence was one of the things that being a police officer taught me that has really helped me with my stage presence.
Okay. It's an automatic thing though when you do it, isn't it? When you do the new bit, you have the inner anxiety. So you do your strong bit and you do your new bits in the middle, but you always have that. There's that sigh of, is this gonna work? Is this gonna work?
Well, listen, you know what? A lot of comics, if you've been doing a while, you kind of know what'll work and what kind of laugh they get. Whether it's going to get a chuckle or they're going to get a big laugh. You kind of know. It's just a matter of getting the exact wording down for how a joke goes. That most comics work on. Because they know the joke is good and they
Hmm.
know the bit is solid. It's just a matter of getting the wording down to sell it.
Do you before a gig? Do you prepare yourself for? Do you do a little mantra or anything like you say,
Nah,
whatever happens? No, you've been through it all.
nah, I don't. No, I don't do all that. So I know some guys got a pace, or some guys got a drink, or whatever else they do. Back in the day, some guys had to put some stuff up their nose to get on that stage. But me, I got listen, let's. You know what? People always ask me, do you get nervous before you get on stage? And my thing is, you don't get nervous. what you get is like anxious. It's like, and I always equate it to, if you ever ran track, it's like waiting for that gun to go off when you're in the starting blocks. That's what this whole thing is like. Like, let's get this show going. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So that's kind of more of what it is than being nervous.
Hmm. Yeah. What's so with you being in the comedy game for over 30 years, and with you doing all these different gigs of all levels, what do you do to keep the I know that like Russell Kane says that because he's a big name famous comic, he deliberately goes
Uh-huh.
into clubs that don't know him to try and keep the iron sharp, because they often say that
Oh,
once you're
okay.
famous, um you get your first few minutes free or whatever. And a lot of,
Right.
I
Right.
see even like Paul Chowdhury's a big TV comic do an open mic to test stuff out. What do you
Oh,
do
sure.
with your
Yeah.
30 years in the business to keep yourself sharp, like always? And how do you keep the love of the comedy game after doing it for 30 years?
Well, listen, the love is always there, because you like that adulation you get when the feedback you get when you do a great show and all that kind of stuff. But just to say sure, I very rarely go to an open mic anymore. I treat I kind of treat all my shows as if they're open mics, and I'll throw in new material all the time, right off the top, whether I've worked it out, whether I've tried it out. If it's an idea in my head, I'll work it out on that stage. I'll figure it out. But if you put it in, if I'm doing a 45-minute show and the bits, let's say 5 minutes, 6 minutes, whatever, um, I got enough stuff around it to cover it if it's go off that bad. But you know, uh um, the only thing thing about open mics now is I watch there's a show called, what's the name of it? Kill Tony, right?
Ah, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so he brings up all these open micers and whatnot, and nobody knows how to do a show anymore. That's what it seems to me. It's like now it's I'm gonna tell a joke that's going to shock the heck out of you. And there's no, and listen, in this business, at this time of the point in the game, there's really almost no shock value anymore. Nothing shocks you anymore. It used to be when you just cursed or if you said vagina, that people, oh my goodness, all the shock value is gone in this business. So um I rarely go to an open mic anymore. It's just, I don't know. Here's the reason why. There's no more launching pads for comedians. Used to be there was the Tonight Show, there was Def Comedy Jam, all these other shows were launching pads for us to move to another level. And the other level was maybe opening for a famous star or working in Vegas and blah blah blah. But all that's gone because TV shows don't put on comics the way they used to, and they don't give us like it used to be on the Tonight Show. You got 7 minutes. Now on a TV show, you get 3.5 to 4.5. So and it's rare when they put a comedian on. So why are you working on a TV set for a show that doesn't exist? Nobody does comics anymore. Plus, like I said, when you do a show, the Tonight Show or Fallon or whatever the equivalent to that in the UK, what next? Then what?
Hmm.
Used to be like the Tonight Show. If Johnny saw somebody he liked, he put him on again and again and again to build the guy's career. Now you go on if you get a shot at on a Tonight Show or Jimmy Fallon or one of those, you're on once and you ain't heard from again.
Hmm. Yeah.
So let's go ahead.
No, no, no. It's an interesting thing you said there, because I know that Simon Evans said something like that in terms of he went on live at the Apollo. They apparently they paid 10,000 on live at the Apollo, and he got most of his audience for his tour shows from when he supported a big name TV name rather than actually the TV
Uh-huh.
show.
Yeah, I see that show when I work on ships a lot. the Live at the Apollo show comes on. There's a lot of funny comics on that show.
Yeah, I agree. But it's TV's not what it used to be. It's all about the
Right.
TikTok crowd works, isn't it?
Right. Well, you know what? You don't even have to be a comedian now anymore. Like comedian is secondary. And I'll give you a perfect example. Country Wayne, right? Country Wayne came about during the pandemic. He started making all these funny little videos, and blah, blah, blah. And he blew up on YouTube and on TikTok. Netflix gives him a comedy special. Comedy specials are just okay. And God bless Country Wayne, because he said he's going back to doing the videos. He's not going to do stand-up anymore. I think that's what he's something to that effect. But God bless him. Everybody know his name now from TikTok and all that stuff. But then he ventured into stand-up, and the stand-up was just okay. But that's the back way in. People knew who he was before he did the stand-up. But a lot of guys are doing that now. They use stand-up as just a way to be out in front of an audience. But those little videos they shoot and all those, get the big follow. All these guys, everybody wants a following, and make money that way.
When what I hear now and what I hear from so I got a friend of mine, well, it's a comic that I know called Danny Postal. He makes a lot of his money through corporates or like through cruise ships. And when I
Right.
interviewed Larry Omaha on this podcast, he said to me, like, I often hear from a lot of American comics like about the college circuit, and people talk about college circuit. And Larry Omaha told me that now it used to be like that, but about 10 years ago, it all changed, and now the college circuit isn't really what it used to be.
Yeah, we like me and Larry, and we came up in the era when there used to be a convention called NACA, and they would have these big conventions, and they would bring in all these acts, and then the colleges would buy the acts, whatever, however, buy the comedy show or hire you to do a show. But now, everything's so PC at college, and these, I hate to say it like this, but these kids today are so soft. You can't say anything against them, or, you can't make any kind of off-color joke because they think everything. Oh, you can't say that. Oh, my feelings are hurt. So that kind of college thing went away. And here's the other thing: we got older.
Yeah.
you know, you the things I talked about 20 years ago, not the same thing I'm talking about now. I can't do a college show telling kids, "Hey, get that prostate checked." They don't no idea what I'm talking about. So, so I guess some guys can still do comedy at clubs, at colleges, but you got to be in that age group. Listen, you got to know you got to know your audience. That's the other thing about comedy. You got to know your audience. A lot of new comics, they go out and try to do the same show for a group of college kids that they'll do for a group of retired seniors. You can't do that's two different audiences. You can't put the same act out there for both of them. So, what are you gonna do?
How would you adjust for both of them in terms of what if you get booked for those gigs?
Well,
What's your sort of
you you have to have the material, and that's what it boils down to. You have to have, you know what I always liken it to building a house. You got to have a good foundation. You have a good foundation, your house will stand. No matter how you do that show, your house will stand. Most of these guys, like a lot of these guys, flash in a pan. They ain't got no good foundation, and the first time somebody yells out something in the audience or something, they done. They don't know how to handle it. I walk out to an audience, and like I'll give you an example. Next week I have to go do a show for the some national police organization. It's a corporate gig. That show that I do there will not be the same show that I do a week after on a cruise ship, because two different audiences, right? And you got to know your audience, got to know who you're talking to. So that comes with time. That's the only thing you can do. That comes with time. You can't you can't take somebody. You know, some guy goes, like guys will ask me, "Hey, how do you do a cruise? How much time do I have to do a cruise ship?" And I said, "You have to have 245s, and you better have a reserve 15." Oh,
Oh,
I don't know if I have that much material. Well, can't do it. I did a cruise ship with these two guys, and they were fairly new, and you had to do 245. You had to do two different shows. And then when we went to the theater, you had to have a third different show, different than the other two. All right. No big deal. So I get backstage, and these guys are frantically trying to write a new act right then and there. So I said, what do you, oh, I don't want to repeat any material, but I don't have enough. Let me try you. Is this funny? And they try to do jokes in the next, we got to do a show in 5 minutes. Show starts in 5 minutes. Oh, is this funny? I said, listen, I told the guys, I said, listen, you do as much as you can do. You do as much as you can do, and then introduce me. I'll just cover the rest of the show. Really? You could do that? I go, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll cover the rest of the show. Whatever you do and you do, that's fine. Bring me up. I'll do the rest of the show. Because, listen, I've been in this game a long time. I have the material to cover whatever needs to be done. We used to go do, I was working with a group of comics, and we were on a USO tour. I think we were in Spain, and we were doing a show for some multinational task force. And the promoter comes running over to us. Oh, please, you guys have to be clean. You have to be clean. And we all were like, oh, okay. No, I'm telling you, no, I don't know what material you're going to do, but listen, we were all professionals. So it doesn't matter. You could tell us, you could tell me 2 minutes before a show, hey, you got to be clean. Keep it clean. No problem. That's not a problem. Or, hey, listen, could you give it some edge? Not a problem. I know just what to do. But all that comes with time. All that comes with time and experience, and you don't get that making TikTok videos.
no. There are a couple of I know there's a few comics in the UK who have really done well with that, and they've just got a natural gift for it. So
Oh, yeah.
like Jack Skipper, he's been going only
Uh-huh.
5 years and he's got onto TV. Laura Smith, but they're like, people think, oh, we can be like them. They're a flash in a pan, like one in maybe 1,000 who are able to do that.
Right.
And
Right.
you're gonna have to do the long hard yards, maybe 10, 20 years to get the material for that.
Listen, everybody's got everybody runs a different race. Some guys' path is quick stardom, and then you never hear from them again. Some guys take that long journey to stardom, but they last longer. So you never know. You don't know what your path is, or nobody knows what their path is in this business. We do, and we hope somebody sees us that can do something for us, or we're in the right place at the right time with the right person, and that launches us. Like I said, me and George Lopez started at the exact same day, exact same club. George Lopez is a worldwide star, comedy shows, and two, 3 sitcoms he's had so far. I still talk to George every now and then, but our paths I'm here and George is way up there somewhere. So you never know. You just don't know. And you know what? The guys making TikTok, I got nothing against these guys making TikTok videos, and listen, that's, God bless them. If you can pay all your bills making TikTok videos and all this other little crazy stuff and got these big followings, God bless you. That's just another path. Like I said, Country Wayne, what's the Matt Rife, so good for them. They found a way. And there's nothing wrong with that.
It's a funny thing with Matt Rife, because I know that another guest I had on the podcast, Richard Villa, he geeked with him and like told me that he's been with him, and he's told me that and Richard Villa's been doing it ages, and he told me that he's got the goods for doing it. He's really good. And I hear a lot of criticism from comics that have never really performed with him or been with him on stage. But yeah, I mean, it may not look good online, but you haven't seen him perform. Like with Louis C.K., I remember seeing him on video. I didn't really like him too much, but when I saw him live, he was the best comic I've ever seen.
Well, you know what? With Matt Rife, Matt Rife is everything everybody wants to be. He's young, he's good looking. He listen. He knows his way on stage. It ain't like he don't know what he's doing. He's good on stage. Whether you like his material, whether you don't like his material, that's irrelevant. He's good on stage. He's a polished act. Who don't? That's what Hollywood's always looking for. When I was a young comic, I used to get stuff. Oh, he's a young, good looking, and they put you on something because they're always looking for the next young, hot, blah blah blah. That's just showbiz.
And what do you say to anyone that says no? No, what would you say to anyone that's like on the reverse end and they get bitter and they say, "Oh, why does this one have this one, or why does that one have that opportunity? Oh, why?
Listen,
No, no, they're not funny enough. They're not this. They're not this." Yeah, I hear this all the time in rooms. People say, "Oh, why does this like do that? They're shit. I'm better than them." Or they say, "Why does this like get
that's
that? Why does this one get this?"
listen. We all go through that phase where why did that guy get that? I deserve to get that. He gets stuff that I should have got. I'm funnier than him, and he's funnier. He ain't. And he does. He's. What are you gonna do? You know what? Some comic told me a long, long, long time ago. He says, you know what? Just run your own race. Put blinders on. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just run your own race. And he's right. You can't listen. Other people there's always gonna be somebody more successful than you. Always gonna be somebody who wants to be where you are. That's just life. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Be bitter about it? What's that accomplish? Everybody, you know what? In this business, you can create. Like Country Wayne, like Matt Rife, like Issa Rae. Issa Rae used to do all those little videos on YouTube. Who finds her? HBO gives her a TV show. Now she's a big Hollywood producer. Everybody, you can find your own path. It's just a matter of how much work you want to put into it, and you still need a little luck in this business. You still need a little luck to be the right place, right time, all that other kind of stuff. So.
Who's an example of someone that you've gigged with like for 20 or 30 years who put in the hard yards and then had their big moment um really late towards like 20 or 30 years in?
Oh, and that's a big star now or not a big star?
Both. Both.
Oh, well, shoot. Hell, listen. There's a whole bunch of guys. Uh listen. Let me tell you my fight, my brush with fame. I'll tell you
Uh,
that show. Tell you my story. Um, I don't know if you remember in the UK. I don't know if you got the show called In Living Color. Did you guys get that show,
I don't think
or do you
so,
guys
but
remember that show? Okay. Well, In Living Color was like it was like Saturday Night Live, which was edgier, but it was edgier and it was funnier. And it was created by Keenan Wayans of the Wayans brothers, right? And it's the TV show that launched Jim Carrey. Okay. So when they were auditioning for that show, they were searching all over America, right? And so what they would do is they would bring in a bunch of comics and they'd only let you do improv. You had to do improv. So they'd give you a scenario and just say go, and you would do whatever, blah, blah, blah. And every week or every 3 days, they would cut the group down, cut the group down, cut the group down. So you keep getting callbacks. Like one day I was in Phoenix and they say, hey, you have a callback for In Living Color tomorrow. Can you make it? I go, yeah, I'll be there. Well, they keep growing. Well, needless to say, I make it down to what they call the producer's cut. Now, we're doing improv in front of the producers of the show, right? And Damon Wayans was there. Now, Damon Wayans didn't have to audition because his brother's Keenan Wayans, so he ain't got to audition. His brother created the show. Jim Carrey didn't have to audition because Fox wanted Jim Carrey on the show. But the rest of us, we had to audition. So we get down to the last audition, and we're doing. I remember my audition. My three things were I was with 4 comics. It was all of you guys are very effeminate, and the doctor wants to make you more masculine. Go. And you had to make up a story from that and go and blah 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 blah. And then they did All right, all you guys are very macho, and he's trying to make you more effeminate. Go. And we had to make up a story and blah, blah, blah. You know, we're telling the jokes and had to keep it going, had to keep the flow. The third one was the four of you two are pilots. I was a navigator. One guy was a flight attendant. The engines are falling off your plane one at a time. Go. And we made up a story and blah, 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 yada, 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 yada. So I go home and I get a call from the casting woman. Her name was Robbie Reed. And she goes, hey, did Keenan call you? I go, no. She goes, well, stay by your phone. You're going to get a phone call. So, all right. So sure enough, Keenan Wayans calls me. He goes, hey, I'd like to tell you, congratulations. The producers really love what you did. Yada, yada, yada. We want to make, if you don't know, we're doing this show. It's going to be like Saturday Night Live. And it's going to be a funny show and blah, blah, blah. And I have you, I think I'd like to use you on the news desk and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm crying. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited. He goes, we're going to send a courier over with the contract. So just sign the contract, give it back to the courier. I said, oh, okay. You know, back then I didn't think about looking at it or, you know, or making a copy because there was no cell phone or nothing like that. Couldn't take a picture of it. So he said, we're in a hurry. So you got to sign it right away. And I think that was kind of a trick, but sign it, give it to the courier. So now I'm on the show. And I'm telling everybody, oh, I'm on this show in living color. It's like Saturday Night Live. I'm going to the BMW dealership. Oh, man, listen, I just signed this contract. I'll be making blah, blah, blah money. And, yeah, you know, maybe I'm going to come by and pick up one of these cars. You know, I got the money spent. They ain't made a penny yet. And and then the network tells you, hey, listen, if you ever need anything, you call us. We'll see if we can get it for you. And I go, what do you mean by need anything? He says, well, if you want to go to a Dodger game or a Laker game. So, and it happened to be summertime. I said, can I get 4 tickets to the Dodgers? He said, sure. They send a courier. They bring him by things from, you know, I'm getting invited to parties. I'm going to the makeup calls and everything. Oh, my God. This summer was great. So now we're getting closer. The show starts I think the show's going to start in fall. And it's about, we're getting to late summer. So I get a call from Keenan and they go, hey, listen, I need you to come down to the office the next day. Right. So the whole cast is there. Everybody's there. Damon Wayans, Jim Carrey was there, Tommy Davison, Kim Wayans, everybody who was on the cast was there. So they go, Keenan says, listen, we've been cut from an hour show to a half-hour show because In Living Color originally was going to be an hour show, just like Saturday Night Live, but it was following the Tracy Ullman show. And Tracy Ullman's show was an hour, and they didn't want 2-hour shows back-to-back comedy shows. So he said, well, we're cutting the deal from an hour to a half hour. He said, and because we're doing that, we won't need as many cast members. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut a few of you guys. So I'm looking around going, well, I don't know who he's going to cut. He ain't cutting me. I got a contract. Yeah, I signed my contract. I don't know who getting cut, but it ain't going to be me. So that night we had to come down to the Laugh Factory and do another comedy show, right? Now, here's where I kind of shot myself in the foot, too. So I don't do characters in my stand-up. If we're doing an acting piece or whatnot, I'll do, I go and jump into a character. But in my stand-up, I just do stand-up, right? So, and I was telling Keenan, listen, what do you want me to do? Because I just do stand-up. Before we were doing improv. We're not doing improv tonight. We're just all doing stand-up. He goes, yeah. He goes, well, do your station wagon bit and do this and blah, blah, blah. He said, you'll be fine. So I go up and do my couple of minutes, blah, blah, blah. Going up behind me was David Allen Greer. Now, David Allen Greer goes on stage and he says, listen, I'm not a comedian. I'm an actor. So if somebody wants to maybe come up and do some improv acting bits with me, let's do that. Stupid me, instead of going on stage, because, something like this, the more time you spend in front of the producer, the better you are. I sit there and go, let him sink and swim on his own. I ain't helping him out. Wrong answer. So David Allen Greer goes up. Everybody goes up that night, blah, blah, blah. So next day I get a phone call. It's Robbie Reed. casting director. She said, "Hey, did Damon call? Did Keenan call you yet?" I go, "No." She goes, "Oh, stay by your phone." So Keenan calls me. He goes, "Hey, listen." He goes, we cut the show to a half hour. He said we had to cut a few people. He says when we got to your picture, we put it aside. You were the last one we decided on. He said it was a coin toss between you and Tommy Davidson. Now you guys know Tommy Davidson in the UK, right?
I don't, but I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, he's a big act in the States. He's a very funny guy, and me and him we're built alike. We're both smallish, thinnish. We would play the same characters, and that's what Keenan told me. He goes, you guys would probably play the same characters. He says, and Tommy does more characters than you. I said, no, he does more characters in his stand up, but not, I mean, any character he do, I could do. He says, yeah, but the producers really liked him and his people talked to him. And so we're going to have to cut you from the show. Man, I tell you what, I was laying in my house in the fetal position. I was crying. Then I was mad. I was like, well, what about my contract? He goes, well, he says, if you had read it, we can let you out, but you can't leave out. Like you can't quit, but they can let you out of the contract anytime they want. So that's pretty much what they exercise. So that was my brush with stardom. Hey, it happens. What are you gonna do?
Shit, man. Yeah.
So you listen, some people listen, I've had a pretty good career. Oh, don't nobody know who I am. People are gonna watch this podcast and go, who the heck is this guy? They don't know who I am, but I've had a pretty good career. I've done a lot of things. I've worked with a lot of people. I've worked with Gladys Knight. I've worked with Keith Sweat. I worked with John Legend. I've had a decent career. I can't complain. I wrote 2 movies. Things could be better, but things have been good.
But I mean, at the end of the day, though, I mean, with anyone in creative industry or perform or anything, we're doing what we want to do. And most people never get to make a living out of doing what they want to do. And to me,
exactly,
as a comedian, whatever the case is, if I make an all right living, can pay my bills and can get on with things in some way involved with comedy, I'm not bothered where I get to or any of that stuff. I just, as long as, because I like comedy, love making audiences laugh. I love doing the podcast. I love running comedy shows. That's enough. That's more than enough. If that turns into something that's my full-time living, pay the rent and all of that, I ain't bothered about any of that.
Right. I work all over the world. I work cruise ships. I work for the USO. I do military shows. Next week I'm like I said, I'm doing a big convention for police department. Life is grand. Am I George Lopez? Nope. Am I George Brown who's doing open mic? Nope. I'm just me. I'm in a good spot. Like I said, I did okay. What can you do? Like I said, listen, a lot of the path of stardom, there's a lot of luck involved. There's a lot of luck involved. Like I said, right place, right time. Who's to say? I mean, Kevin Hart seems to have come out of nowhere, but Kevin Hart was doing all those shows in Philadelphia, and somebody saw him and liked them, and because if there's a bunch of like these little movies that you see Kevin Hart in, not that this before Kevin Hart was Kevin Hart, but somebody saw him, liked him, brought him out west, put him in Soul Plane, and he took off. And talk about somebody who has made the most out of what was given. Oh my God, Kevin Hart is huge. So, yeah. But what are you gonna do? Like I said, like I said, you do your podcast, I do my little comedy shows, and we're doing and doing just what we like to do every day when we wake up.
Exactly. And one thing I want to add on what you said there, like Kevin Hart, I watched his podcast with Joe Rogan, and like one thing that I really admire about him, and I think like with Conor McGregor, when he made it and got the big money, he lost all his motivation and went off the rails. But with Kevin Hart, it's amazing that he has all this determination and willpower. He has the willpower of like an open micer that's just started and has the will to be the top. Yet he is at the top and he still keeps grinding at it.
Yeah.
And that
It's
is
still
what's
grinding, yeah.
amazing about him. I think I'm not at the top or any of that, but I'm sure there's definitely a lot of people who are quite high up who don't have the hunger he has.
Well, yeah, well, exactly. I mean, look at the Steve Martin. People ask him, Steve Martin, why'd you stop doing stand up? And his joke always was second show Friday. That was always his joke. But stand up's a hard nut, you know? Like Steve, if you ever read Steve Martin's book, he did all that comedy, and at a certain point, your whole lifetime of comedy, you've just run out, So why go back? After Steve Martin stopped doing stand up, he never went back. After Eddie Murphy stopped doing stand up, he never went back. Stand up's a hard nut. It really is. So I admire guys who do like Chris Rock, who's done, well, how many Chris Rock specials he done? 5, 6, same thing with Chappelle, 5 or 6. Your first special is probably always going to be your best special because it's all your material from all these years packed in this. Now, you got to throw all that away and start with a clean slate and be just as funny as that first one that you spent years now. Now that's years and years of comedy. This one's only maybe a year, 2 years of comedy, and you have to do another special. Rich Jenny. I don't know if you remember Rich Jenny.
I'm sorry.
You know Rich Jenny? You don't
I'm
know Rich
sorry, man.
Jenny? Oh, shame on you. He plays the best friend in the movie The Mask. I don't know if you know the movie The Mask
Are you talking
with
about the one with
Jim.
Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Fine, fine. I know him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I work with Rich Jenny a lot. And this is when I was young. I saw Rich Jenny go on stage and do a killer 45, just knocked it out the box. And he sent him up a note on stage that he had to stretch because the waitresses weren't ready yet. And he adds on another 20. Brilliant. His second show, he goes up, does a whole different 45, just as funny as the first 45, right? So I got to talk to him, and he goes, he said he signed a 3-picture deal with Showtime, and he had to deliver 3 comedy specials. He says that was his motivation to work all the time. He said because they already gave him the money, and now he has to deliver the goods. So, sometimes the money is the motivator.
Uh, but they say it's not. That I heard, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They say that money is just a security thing. No, I'm joking. What's your thoughts on that? They say that in the business books. When I was in university, they put the Maslow
Yeah, well,
hierarchy of needs: the security, money security, and self-actualization.
yeah. In the words of Prince, money can't buy happiness, but it'll pay for the search.
Ah,
So listen, like you said, I always tell audiences, they pay me for the travel. Like 2 weeks ago, they flew me to Barcelona for 2 days and then flew me home.
okay.
So it was like 16 hours to get there, 17 hours to get home. And it wasn't business or first class. So I always tell people they pay me for the travel. I do the show for free. Y'all, I'll do that show for free because I like doing the show. But y'all paying me for the travel. And you find most comics at this level, they'll tell you about the same thing. It's a grind. It's a grind going to the airport every other day or every other week, schlepping some bag and this and that and that's and this and that's. And then you go on, you have your happy 45 minutes on stage, and then you're back to schlepping a bag and you got to go home and yet so. Yeah, you're paying me for that travel.
So when you're traveling, do all these gigs, and this is a bit of a left field question, but when you're doing all these gigs and you're traveling, doing these shows, have any of your kids or your missus been to a show and then you've done bits
Oh
in
yeah.
them, and they're like,
Oh yeah.
"Yo, dog," or "Yo, dad, what you doing? You're making fun of me."
Listen, my wife now, we've only been married. I'm gonna show you because your audience didn't see her. I want to show her. That's my wife right there. She's a sergeant at the time, getting accommodation for a chief. This accommodation was for for talking a jumper off a building. See my wife right there. Right? So
Huh?
anyway, so what was I gonna tell you? What was I gonna tell you? What were we talking about?
I was saying, with the traveling and all of that, how does the family
Oh,
feel?
yes.
But also, how do
Right.
they feel when they're at a show of yours and you make fun of them?
Yes. So my wife, now we've only been married now 4 years. All right. So when we were dating, she used to say to me all the time, she'd come to a show and she would say, "How come you don't talk about me? How come you don't ever mention me in the show?" Okay. So I started writing bits about her and talking about her and doing stuff about her. Man, then it was, "Why are you talking about me in the show? Leave my name out of your mouth. I find something else to talk about. I don't like this joke." You talk. That's it. That's what you asked for. So be careful what you ask for.
What about your kids? Have they been to ones? Are they like, Dad, what you doing making fun of
Yeah.
me?
Oh, listen, my youngest son, he used to go to comedy clubs with me all the time, all the time. I didn't care if I was doing a G show or an X show or an R show, and he'd be backstage and blah blah blah. And he caught the bug. He wanted to do stand up. He was in a show called Kids in Comedy. He went up and did a little stand up and blah blah blah. So yeah, he loved it. You know, I think it helped him get into college and a whole lot of other stuff. But he loved it. He loved being, part of the show. Me and him would go up and we would do our favorite thing to do. We would do Who's on First with the Abbott and Costello piece, and yeah, he real quick learner. He did a couple of Disney shows and Disney commercials, but he kind of grew out of showbiz. He said he can't take that kind of grind, but yeah, I mean, like I said, my wife, she got mixed feelings. I always tell her it's too late now, man. Them jokes are too good to take you out the show. So, well, but yeah, a lot of acts talk about their wives or the kids or so.
What do they make when they see comics? Because I got some friends and family that they occasionally come to shows, and sometimes they say great things about different comics of that, but sometimes they're like, "Who the fuck is this?" Or they go like they say some disparaging things about some of the comedians you see.
Yeah, listen, everybody likes what they like, you know. Um, um, what are you gonna do? You go to a show and everybody ain't always on the same level, or people talk about something like my wife loves like Christian comedy and all that kind of stuff because she's the big Bible girl. And so when you tell jokes about the Bible, she just falls on the floor and all that kind of stuff. When I do my adult show, my wife hates it because she's, "Oh yeah, you're cursing and whatnot." I'm like, "Hey, that's an adult show. What do you want from me?" So listen, everybody likes what they like. Um, and it's what we do is very subjective. So what are
I,
you gonna do?
I'll be honest, and this is going to be maybe a bit controversial, but I'm not bothered about what other comics think or peers or any of that. The only thing that bothers me is the audience. As long as the audience have a good
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
I don't
right.
really give a shit about other comics.
That's right. Listen, that's the way it should be, right? But every now and then you go someplace. Like I did a show um with some friends of mine, but like I don't know if you know Craig Robinson. You know Craig Robinson?
I've heard of the name, yeah.
He's a heavyset black guy. He plays piano. That's his thing. He was in the movie James Brown. He was in the movie Hot Tub Time Machine. He was in our version of The Office. Big star. And I got him his first gig. But well,
Huh?
I digress. Big star now. And then there was another guy on the show, a guy named Fritz Coleman. Fritz Coleman's like a big local star here in LA, huge in LA. And so I was the unknown, and so you listen, in this business, there's a lot of ego floating around because I didn't want to be the worst comic on that stage. As good as Fritz is and as good as big star Craig is, and nobody knows me, I still don't want to be on any show. I don't want to be the worst comic up there, even though everybody's good. I don't want to be the least good. So, you got a little ego and you want to step it up and do your thing. But for the most part, we don't. You get to a point where you stop worrying about what other comics around you doing. Like I said earlier, you run your own race. You put blinders on and you run your own race.
Yeah. There's a quote. So I interviewed another comic on a podcast, I think a couple of years ago. He's a very successful comedian, social media follower. He's called President Abunjo. And he gave a really good, interesting point. And he says, what are the things he said? There's things that if he was to teach a comic before, if he was going to advise a comic before they did comedy, he would do a psychological assessment, like saying, are you resilient? Can you deal with rejection? Are you independently minded?
Right.
Because you're going to get people that are going to go ahead. You're going to have people that don't like you. You're going to have people that,
Yep.
even if you do well, and you got to deal with, not being vulnerable. Yeah, those are the main things he said to me. And I'm butchering it, and I'm not saying it right, but I've actually put it as a quote on one of the social media pages. But I thought that's a really good thing that he says, like having the right stand-up, and he calls it the stand-up comedy mindset.
Right. Yeah.
Before you do comedy.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, what we do is subjective. It's not like, we build a house or, anything like that. We need to get an audience. We need to elicit a response from the audience. Laughter. You don't ask a singer to do that. You don't ask a dancer to do that. We have to make you laugh to realize we're doing well. Right? That's the only way it works for us. So you can't have a thin skin. I mean, I still do shows where it said like people are sitting on their hands. I go, my God, what the heck's going on? So, how come a joke worked so good yesterday and now it's just kind of sitting there? What's going on? But you gotta, to be any kind of performer, you gotta have a thick skin, because sooner or later you're gonna do something somebody doesn't like, or you just gotta have a bad day on stage, or it just happens. So if you have a thin skin, I can't see you being in this business if you're gonna worry about somebody saying you stink, or this guy, or I mean, how many times if you're in a group of comedians and somebody comes up and they just grab one comedian and go, oh, you were great, you are the best, and all the other comics standing around go, hey, what am I, chopped liver? So it happens. What are you gonna do? But like I said, you can't have a thin skin about it. You just keep on keeping on, as Gladys Knight says.
Well, there's so much noise as well, like from other comics or from audience at the end. If you let everything get to you, then you're not going to do anything. You're going to, like there's so much noise. Like whenever as you said, everyone's got an opinion. Like Kelly Rowland said at X Factor Condition, yo, I'm not going to do the accent. I think that's wrong. But she says, there's going to be all sorts of folks with opinions. And if you can't handle it, you get out of the kitchen.
There you go. That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. All you can hope for is the audience you're working for enjoys your work. That's it. Everything else is just white noise. And listen, like I said, there's always going to be haters in this business. There's always going to be haters. Some people like Kevin Hart. Some people hate Kevin Hart. Some people like Dave Chappelle. Some people hate Dave Chappelle. There's always going to be haters. It's a subjective business. What are you going to do about that? There's nothing you can do. Everybody's not going to like what you do.
Now, you can say, you can refuse to answer, like tell me you won't answer this or another topic. But one of the things with all your years in the business, a common thing. So when you get an audience member and they say, "Oh, I hate what you said there," or you get a booker saying, "Oh, this was dreadful," or you get maybe other acts giving unsolicited advice, or you get comics trying to say things or this and that, and they say it to you. What is your advice for comics, apart from being independently minded, strong-willed? What would be your bit of advice for comics for dealing with the bullshit of what I've just said?
Listen, every job has its share of bullshit. Take it with a grain of salt. Don't I would say don't react on it as it's coming at you, because now you just coming, you're going to be defensive, or you're going to be angry and blah blah blah. If somebody says, especially if a promoter, some promoter comes up to you and goes, uh, you did 15 minutes and you're only supposed to do 10 and blah blah blah. Relax. Listen, you did wrong. If that's what he says, until you are, listen, until it's your name on that big marquee and you call all the shots, go along with the program. Just deal with the program. Don't, take everything in with a grain of salt. If it's criticism, is it real? Is it real criticism? Is it something that's going to help you? If somebody tells you, hey, you should do this joke like this, blah, 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 give it a thought. Maybe he's right. I was doing a joke one way for years. Somebody told me something different. I go, how did I never think of that? So, so yeah, with we're all gonna get, especially like I said, we're all gonna get criticized in this job, especially because you're trying to get hired. You're trying to get hired off of telling jokes. You could be the funniest guy in the world, but if the promoter doesn't like you, you ain't getting in, right? That's just, a lot of promoters they don't listen to the audience and say, "Oh, this guy's doing great, I should bring him back." They just go, "I don't like him, he ain't coming back." That's a big difference, right? So but there's nothing we can do until, like I said, until it's your big name on the marquee. There's really nothing we can do. You take it with a grain of salt. You shake your head. You go on about your business. You go on and you live to fight another day. Every show ain't gonna be a good one. You're gonna bomb. You're gonna have some horrible shows. Listen, at my level, as many years as I've been in this business, you would think I don't have any more bad shows, but I did a bad show about a year ago. I was in Palm Desert, and there was 6 people in the audience eating dinner, and this guy wanted me to do 45 minutes. And the only reason I took the gig because it was a lot. It was good money to go hang out in Palm Desert and be at a resort for a couple of days. It was great money, but the show, he didn't tell anybody. He didn't market the show. But the show night came, and I had to do 45 minutes for 6 people who were not paying who could care less if I was there or not. 2 of them were having a conversation, and the other 4 were eating dinner. And there's nothing I could do. I just shook my head. I put my head down. I kept one eye on my watch, and I told the jokes. What are you going to do? There ain't nothing I could do.
Did you join them and say, "Oh, could I get a steak fry?"
You know what? I tried to talk. Because it's only 6 people. So I tried to engage in conversation with them. They wouldn't have it. They wouldn't have that either. I was like, oh my God, there's nothing good. What do you do? So I did my act, and I looked at my watch, and I still had 25 minutes to go. I go, oh my God. So, but some days, like I said, you just put your head down and you plow through, and you fight the next day. That's all you can do.
Do you just go straight to bed after that? Do you meditate, or what do you do?
Listen, you know what? You just shake it. Well, that show was an anomaly. That was like, oh my God, that's just so far one way. But usually when I have really, really, really good shows, I just accept them as the same time when I have a really, really bad show. That's it. Because you're going to have highs and lows. I don't get too high on my highs, and I don't get too lows on my lows. Simple as that. I did a show right at the end of the pandemic. It was the first show back that I was going to do, and it was for the Salvation Army. And I go up, and the first act goes up. We're only supposed to do 15 minutes, right? So I figured 15 minutes. I haven't worked in 2 years, but I can rattle off 15 minutes. Well, the first act goes up. She does 45 minutes. I say, oh my God, and it was mostly women there. So she's doing all the women stuff, and they're just cracking up. She's killing, but she does 45 minutes. So now I go up, and I can't remember a joke. I can't remember a thing. I do my throat, and this never happened before. My throat is all dry. I could barely talk. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? So I did like a couple of basic things that I knew that right off the top of my head. And after the show, I said to the backstage guy, I go, hey, listen, is there another way out of here? He goes, no, the only way out of here is you got to go through the crowd. So I make that, put my head down, walk through the crowd. I say to my wife, look, we got to go. And she goes, aren't you going to stay for the rest of the show? I go, no, I can't. I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want nobody to say anything to me. But it happens. What are you going to do? So don't get too high on the highs and don't get too low on the lows. That's all it boils down to.
Hmm. I get terrified with a lot of gigs if I get too high because I know that I'm gonna bomb. If I get too confident, I know that I'm certain that I'm gonna bomb very quickly.
Yeah, listen, but when you go out there, with that confidence, right? That's another, and you're hitting on, and everything's hitting. How good do you feel?
Very good, best feeling ever.
Yes, that's it, right?
But yeah,
Brings you back the next day.
I think trying to keep myself on edge and being a bit nervous with each gig and being cautious
Okay,
is what
right.
I try. I'm worried about getting. A couple of times I've done that where I've done well at a couple of gigs. I get super confident, and then boom, that gig is the one I bomb out terribly. So I think I try and keep myself nervous and cautious at every gig.
Okay. Hey, listen, everybody's got their warm up, right? Everybody's got their personal warm up or how they approach the stage or how they go out there. So, that's just makes us all different.
Okay. Now, for anyone that's sort of listening right now, so you've had a wild journey. You've done all sorts of things in comedy, and you've done all the thing with being a police officer. What is the funniest misconception that you get from both fields, like that you get from people when you tell them
About
that
being a
you're a
cop?
comedian or a police officer, and that you make fun of?
Oh, well, because I'm only 5'4".
Oh,
So people look at me and go, "You were a cop? Oh my God! How could you be a cop? You're so short. Could you even see over the steering wheel? All them kind of jokes." Um, and they think, that because I live in LA, they think that I've been in a lot of shootings and it's crime ridden and fighting. I'm fighting, chasing people every day. Like I said, I worked mostly in West LA, so Brentwood and Bel Air. They ain't no street crime up in those areas. Not back then. But so people think that being a police officer is just a lot of rough and tumble and fighting and this. A lot of days you drive around that car and do nothing all day. 8 hours of doing nothing. Sometimes we would invent things to do.
oh,
So, yeah. Here's the funniest story that I tell people. When I got on the job, I was 22, right? And I looked like a kid. I looked young. They used to put me in. I used to go work for the detectives. They put me on the vice calls, and they would send me with a fake ID to a store to buy liquor, or they would send me to a club to see if they would serve me alcohol after 2 o'clock. A lot of things like that. So because I just looked young, so nobody would suspect I was a police officer. So anyway, one day I'm working patrol, and I have to go from West LA Division to Wilshire Division and pick up some paperwork and bring it back to our station. Right. So I'm in the car by myself. Now, West LA is here, Wilshire's here, and in the middle of these two divisions is the city of Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills kind of cuts through a piece of LA. It kind of cuts LA in half a little bit. So I go pick up the paperwork. I'm coming back. I'm on Santa Monica Boulevard. I'm coming back, going westbound Santa Monica back to my station. As I cross this intersection of Santa Monica and Rodeo, I pass two Beverly Hills police officers, right? And
oh,
I kind of look at them side eye, and they kind of look at me go by, right? And as I go by, now they turn and get in behind me. So I'm looking at my rearview mirror, go, well, maybe they're just coming this way or something like that, right? And I'm driving, and they're right behind me. I go, what the heck? So now they turn on their overhead lights, right, to stop me. Like, what's that all about? I said, okay, still, I'm still oblivious to. I go, well, maybe they just want to ask me a question. Maybe they want to ask me a question about LAPD or something. So I pull over. They pull over behind me, right? The two of them get out of their cars. They're walking up towards my car, and I can see them coming up in the mirrors. Well, hell, I get out of my car. I step out of my police car, and I start walking back towards them. So the passenger officer, Beverly Hills police officer, he sees me and he falls on the ground laughing. He is just dying laughing. So I'm going, what happened? What are you laughing about? Well, the driver, Beverly Hills police officer, is saying to me, just forget it. It's nothing. It was nothing. It was nothing. Just forget it. Just go ahead, go back. I'm like, what happened? What y'all stop me for? Well, the passenger, Beverly Hills cop, gets up, he yells to me, my partner thought some little black kid stole a police car. And he thought you thought you was a little black kid stealing a police car. That's why he pulled you over. I'm in uniform. So black people, black guys always have a story. There's a thing called being pulled over for DBW, driving while black, DWB. It's called driving while black. You're driving,
What?
and just because you're black, they pull you over. I'm the only black guy who got pulled over in a police car in a police uniform. So no one can top that. No black guy can top that story.
That's so mental.
So, but listen, police. You know what I always say? That was my path, because I've gotten a lot. Like I said, I got to do next week. I'm doing a big police convention, and I get a lot of work from a lot of police departments because they want to hear jokes about being a policeman. So that's my path, and I've carved out a nice little niche doing it. But that's just me. Everybody's different in this business.
Sure. And for anyone that's sort of listening now, what advice would you give on them not being arrested? And what advice would you give them in stand-up?
Listen, here's how you're not getting arrested. Comply with the officer's commands, right? People, I see all these videos. I know my rights. No, you do not know your rights. If you're behind the wheel of a car, you must have a driver license. If the officer says he has to see that license, you must show him the license. You must show him insurance or registration. I don't have to. Yes, you do. Comply with the officer's commands. Oh my God, it just drives me crazy. I see all these TikTok videos and all these other videos, people telling the officer, oh, I'm a sovereign, what do they say? I'm a sovereign citizen. I don't have to, I'm traveling, I'm not driving. Oh my God. You know what? I always tell my wife, because we'll see those and stuff. Like I said, if I was a cop today, I would just stick my gun in the window and start shooting everybody in the car. That's what I would do. That would solve the problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we've kind of lost a lot of respect for, or I shouldn't say a lot of us. This younger generation seems to have a lot less respect for police officers than we had when we were kids. When I was a kid, this is true story. When I was a kid, there was a guy on my block. There was a man on my block, Mr. Robinson. He was a police officer, and everybody on the block knew he was a police officer. And sometimes he had to work the midnight to 8 what do you call it? Midnight to 8 shift. That's the word I want. So he would have to sleep during the day. So everybody in my block knew it. So when you walked past his house, you couldn't make any noise. And if he was on midnight to 8, we couldn't play in front of his house. That's how respectful we were in our neighborhood about what he did and who he was.
Yeah, I do. That there's a bit like that here as well, and yeah, I think people should give a bit more respect to them. I know there's a few bad apples here and there, but who are you going to call if you're in trouble? and
Yes, right,
need them. There's a few bad apples, but don't paint them all under the same brush. We need them, and
right, right.
yeah,
Exactly. So, but what are you gonna do? Everybody has, I guess, everybody has their stories with PDs or LAPD or police departments, and what are you gonna do? But if you just comply with the officer before you get an attitude, you'll be okay.
yeah.
That's all I say.
But it must drive some of them nuts, though. I heard something about like the regular person goes through one mad experience or something, or a couple of mad experiences, but a police officer goes through like 100 like mad experiences, and the mental effect it
Right.
must have on some of them. And if you're always getting crap from people, there must be a breaking point where they're like, boom.
There is. You know what? And there is. You get to a point where, because listen, everything a policeman shows up is about the negative. I got to write you a ticket. I got to show up to your house and take you to jail. I got to find out, everything is about the negative. Not like firemen. Oh, everybody love them firemen. They show up and got their big hoses and putting oh, Mr. Fireman, thank you so much. Oh, you don't get that when you're a cop.
Yeah.
Nobody happy to see you. What'd you show up for? Because you called us. What do you think we showed up for? So, but yeah, it really is it's a thankless job. And nobody appreciates the work that the officers put in. But like I said, I just wish people would understand that, like you said, for yeah, it's personal to you because it's happening to you. But then I have to go do the same thing I said to you, to him, to him, to him, to him all day long, and all I hear is the negative all day long, and and I can't say nothing smart ass back. You call him. Listen, I've been called some names. I go, oh my god.
Oh,
Y'all lucky I got this uniform on. Otherwise, we'd have to fight. But you just take it. You just take it. Ain't nothing personal. They're talking to the uniform. I get that.
mm.
I get it. But I just wish people had everybody should be a policeman for 1 year. Here's the two things I've always said. Everybody should be a policeman for 1 year. Everybody should work with the public for 1 year because the public is stupid. Oh my God, the public's so stupid. And if you want to see how stupid you are, work for the public for a year, and you see the stupidness, and you go, "Oh my God, was that me?" Yes, that is exactly what you act like. So,
Oh.
so
Now,
anyway,
for anyone that's listening in right now, um, what is one bit of advice you'd like to give to new comics, but also what is a
mm-hmm.
bit of advice you'd like to give to comics that have been in the game for a while?
I would just say, my thing is, I always equate comedy like going to the gym, right? The first day, you're going to go in there and you're going to try out all this equipment and blah, blah, blah. And the next day, you're going to be sore and you ain't going to want to do it anymore and blah, blah, blah. But just keep doing it. The way you get stronger is you go to the gym every day or every other day and you do all the different material, all different stuff. Just keep. And you know what? Listen, when you're a new comic, just don't think you have to do this. Try doing this. Try new things on stage. Don't be afraid to fail. That's the biggest thing with I think the problem with LA now is there's no more clubs where you could go and fail. Because that's the most important thing to do, to learn how to fail and learn how to deal with no jokes and blah blah blah. Because if you go to a club in LA now and you don't do well, they won't have you back. The whole idea is it's a place to get better. So one night I'm gonna have to put out there 6 minutes that don't work or 6 minutes that I'm trying out and blah blah blah. And of course, like the audience ain't gonna like it because they say, oh, because like even when audiences see like Chris Rock and they go to these open mics and they're trying out new material and they go, oh, Chris Rock wasn't funny. Yeah, he wasn't funny because he's trying out new stuff. He's got to be able to try out new stuff. But that's what I always say. if you're a new comic, don't be afraid to try new stuff. Don't be afraid to throw everything you've done away and start brand spanking new. Same thing with comics who have been around for a while. Same thing with them. Try something new. Do something different. If you've developed a style, try something different. Don't be afraid. You already listen. The hardest part of doing this business is getting on stage and talking in front of that mic. That's the hardest part. Once you achieve that, don't be afraid to do anything else.
Sure. And for anyone that's listening in right now, how do they find out about you?
Oh, let's see, man. I was kind of looking around for my book and my other stuff, literature. I was trying to sneak it out of my bag. I couldn't find any in my bag, but they could go to kevinjordan.com. Here's the other thing I'm gonna tell people. Tell acts. Always be prepared. That's the other thing in this business. Always be prepared. Always have stuff ready. Oh, here we go. Watch this. There we go. There we go. They could go to kevinjordan.com. That will tell you everything. You could go to this. That is my special. It's called Cause I Said So, and it's on Amazon Prime. And there's the website. I'll put the QR code there. I'll leave that there for a few seconds. Go ahead, click it. Hurry up, click it. There you go. So it's called, to date, I have 22.4 million views. It's on 6 different streaming services. I also wrote a book. There you go. It's called When the Streetlights Came On. As you can see, it's an award-winning Amazon bestseller right there. Yeah. So it's called When the Streetlights Came On. It's also, I turned it into a screenplay. I won the New York City Screenplay Award. I won the Palm Springs Diversity Screenplay Award, and I came in second in the Nashville Film Festival. So that's my little background of things that I'm doing now. And so that's it. Yeah, kevinjordan.com. Everything you need to know is there. I wanna have you ever done the what's the big film festival, the big comedy festival over there?
Edinburgh Fringe.
The Edinburgh Festival. Have you ever done that?
I've done that about 3 times, yeah. Or 4 times,
Wow.
actually.
Now, was that a lot of fun?
It is a lot of fun because you get to see a lot of great comics, a lot of creativity, people taking risks. But the biggest fault with it at the moment is that they've overpriced priced it. So now there's too much of people with money, and it ruins it a bit because you want variety of different people there. If you just have one sort of person there, I think it ruins the experience. That's what makes comedy so interesting. You got people from different walks of life, and if you only get comics that have the money to go up there, it's going to have an effect. But yeah, I think, in all honesty, if you did a whole hour show about you being a cop and a comedian, that sort of show would get rewards in Edinburgh.
Yeah, they used to have a big show in the Montreal Film Fest, or Montreal Comedy Fest, or whatever. That was a big launching pad for comedians, and a lot of comedians would get discovered there and get holding deals coming out of there. But that kind of dried up, So a lot of, like I said before, a lot of the ways that we got discovered have dried up, and it's harder now for us to. Well, it's harder now to become a star in the big sense, but people have become stars in the TikTok verse and the Instagram verse. So it's I guess it's all what you reach for now.
Yeah, it is what it is.
I mean, everybody with these cell phones, you can make your own movies. You can shoot your own films. You can make broadcast quality work right here. You don't need a studio, and you don't need a cast and a crew and all that kind of stuff anymore. So a lot of this stuff has gotten easier for us to do. But the problem is that since it's easier, so many more people are doing it, and the field's saturated with mediocrity. So
yeah, but a lot of people are doing the same thing, and a lot of people aren't as creative. They don't want to be themselves. there's a lot of people trying to do the same kind of thing rather than trying to
Right.
be original.
Listen, exactly. And I always say like if you're a comic and you're doing just straight stand up, blah blah blah, there's a zillion guys doing that, right? Now, if you're doing something different, let's say like emo, I don't know if you remember Emo Phillips or Judy Tenuta. Oh, they were kind of fringe comics, but they were big because they were, because an audience came to them and says, "We like this crazy stuff." Mitch Hedberg, he was different, and that's what set them apart. But like you said, guys, people are afraid to do that now or be different and take chances because they think it won't go to work. But if when you do something like that, you got to stick with it. You got to go in 100%. Got to go in with both feet to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, I do an act. It's called Asian Zorro. So I play Zorro as a comedian, and it's a bit of an odd act, but some people love it and some people hate it. It's one or the other a lot of the times, and
Hey,
those
right?
that like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
really like it.
right. I mean, wait. I heard of this guy. This woman. She booked a club, and she told me had this guy on called the Whiny Guy or the Wine Guy, something like that. And what he does is he goes on stage with a bottle of wine and a glass, and he whines about stuff. And I said to her, "Is he funny?" And she said, "He was sold out both shows." I said, "Was he funny?" She says, "I don't care if he's funny. He was sold out both shows."
Ah,
So that's his shtick, man. He just go on stage and whine about stuff.
I want to look him up and I want to chat to him. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So there's another. I just saw these other guys that I just started following. I think it's called Two Bald Black Guys. And what they do is they bring somebody up out of the audience, sit them on the stool, and then they talk to them about their job, about their life, and they just make jokes about that. That's the whole show. And then they just make jokes about it and jokes off of it and blah, blah, blah. It's different,
Yeah.
and audiences love it. Hell, you got all the components. You got audiences participation in there, and anytime you include the audience, and then they could go home and watch themselves. They're gonna tell their friends, "Oh, watch me," and bing, 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 bing. So yeah, so there's a lot. Listen, there's a lot of ways to be creative out there, and still a lot of new things to be discovered. So I think comedy it may evolve into other things and a lot of other places, but I think it's gonna be okay. I think it's. I see
Yeah.
a lot of. I've seen a lot of bad and mediocre comedy specials. Oh my god! Oh Lord have mercy! But what can I say? I'm sure people say that about my comedy special.
Names.
Oh.
I'm joking. Yeah.
I'll give you a name. I'll give you a name. Listen, I don't know if you know who Earthquake is.
No, who's that?
He's a semi big comic here in the States. Heavyset black guy, very funny, but not his last special, was it?
Ah,
I like Earthquake. I've seen him destroy houses, but his last special, eh. But you know what that is? Like I said before, he's been doing it so long that now this just breaking on new stuff, it just wasn't as strong as his old stuff.
okay. Is that
So
is it because he's going through a change, or do you think what's happening there?
no, I think that he's just done so many shows that he's running out of material, or the material isn't as strong as the stuff he's done before.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I agree. Okay. Yeah. I think yeah. Like Louis C.K.'s taken a bit of a break, and I know that there's like Kevin Hart does one every few years, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you. I love Louis C.K. I think he, he cracked me up, but not everybody's for everybody.
No, definitely not. But I don't want my daughter in the room with him.
So,
But
well, listen.
he's a brilliant comic, and I'll probably say hello to him. But if I had a daughter, I'm not having him even in 100 yards of him.
Hey, listen. I could tell you some road stories. Oh Lord have mercy. So, I uh, I take comedy in the 80s and 90s when it was at its zenith. Oh my God. When guys, like I said, comedians were rock stars. I saw some. I was working with this comic named John Fox once. John Fox was a huge road comic in the States at the time, and we're working in Cincinnati. So I'm about to go up, and the owner of the club pops. We're both sitting in the green room, and the owner says to me, "Hey, Kevin, I want you to don't do 30, just do 20 on this show because we're running a little behind and we need to catch up, blah, blah, blah. So just do 20." So I was like, oh, okay. All right. So John Fox is sitting behind me when the owner tells me this. So he says, "Hey, Kev, listen, just go up and do 30. Do about 35, maybe." I said, "Man, John, he just told me." He said, "Yeah, I know. But I got an old gal coming in here to give me a blowjob later. So I'm going to take a little time." Oh man. So yeah, it did. Oh my God. Some things were I'll tell you another John Fox story because he's my boy. So um John Fox was well, like I said, legendary road headliner. So I'm working a club in San Jose, and I'm in the comedy condo, and the next door neighbor catches me going in the door. He says, "Hey, are you the comedian this week?" Blah blah, because he knows the apartment is for comedians. I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, who was here last week?" I go, "I have no idea." He goes, "Because whoever it was, he was banging some old girl and she was screaming and you could hear her in the street and blah blah blah." So really, he goes, "Yeah, man, I don't know what was going on. I had to turn my radio up, so I had to hear all that noise going on." I said, "Oh, okay." So I go to the club, and that night I asked, "Hey, who was at the club here last week?" They go, "John Fox." I go, "Okay, that makes sense." Okay. So now, a few weeks later, again, I run into John Fox. I tell him that story. I go, "Yeah, some guy said you were in San Jose and you were banging some chick and she was screaming and yelling." He goes, "Yeah, man. She wanted me to fuck her with her head out the window." so, so listen, yeah, comics are comics are a different breed. That's all I'm gonna say. Comics are a different breed.
I agree.
They're
Now,
like I said, and back then it was like they were like rock stars in a band. You
yeah,
know, they had groupies and all sorts of other stuff, and you know, the golden age of comedy.
damn. Now, so just to clarify, so you just want, if one day you want to find out, it's kevinjordan.com. You've shown the DVD and the book. Um, Anything else you want to plug?
Oh, well, let's see. Like again, I'll plug my book. When the Streetlights came on, very funny. It'll be the funniest book you read this year. QR code. That's my sister and my two brothers, and that's where we live. We had a crazy lady on the block. But anyway, and then like I said, my comedy special, Cause I Said So. It's on Dry Bar. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on Tubi. It's on pay-per-view. What else is? It's on YouTube. So go watch it because I get paid by the view. So go watch
Ah,
my special. And like I said, I wrote two movies. One's called Sled Race. One's called Old Patrol. They both are big time award winners, and I'm looking to get them produced. And that's about it. That's about all I got going on.
okay. Well,
And
guys,
listen, and don't let people tell you you can't do something. You know what? You know what I knew about writing screenplays when I wrote a screenplay? Zero. I know zero. And I wrote the screenplay, and it was a mess. I didn't even the first one I wrote, I didn't even spell check it. I thought I was Mozart. I thought once it was written, it was done. I was submitting it to all these festivals, and they were kicking it back to me and say, "What the hell? What did a monkey get a hold of a typewriter? These are horrible." but I stayed at it and I learned the game and I learned but now there's AI and there's all sorts of other programs that'll straighten all that kind of stuff for you. So if you've got an idea for a movie or a film or whatever, get it done. If you got an idea for a book or something like that, get it done. If you write 1 page a day in a year, that's 365 pages. I'm telling you, write it, get it done. There's all sorts of avenues for us now: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all sorts of things. Who knows what's going to catch on? We don't know. That's the beauty of our business. You could be doing this for 40 years, and all of a sudden you start doing a joke, and it becomes the huge punchline of the nation. Just keep doing it. As they say, just keep trying, keep pushing. That's how you get better, and that's how you're gonna make it.
It's like jujitsu, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Right? Exactly. You ain't good on the first day of jujitsu. People throwing you all over the room, But 5 years in, 10 years in, you the sensei master.
And you're doing the throwing.
That's exactly right. That's right. You walking out on that stage talking about they can't nobody follow me.
Well, for everyone that's listening, I hope you've enjoyed our interview. I hope you give this, you know where to follow Kevin. I hope you give this
That's
podcast review on Amazon, iTunes, Spotify. I've got a few episodes coming up. I've got another Ukrainian comedian who's living in Ukraine that's coming up.
Wow.
Who
Wow.
else?
Are there comedy clubs in Ukraine?
Yeah, they've got the Underground Comedy Club. I interviewed another comic, Alexander Kuchura. He's talking about how his comedy is helping soldiers on the front line. Great chat.
Wow. Good for him. That's amazing. That is amazing.
It shows the power of comedy. It's
Ain't that
incredible.
the truth? Yep, that's right. Hey, laughter is the best medicine, and that's totally true.
That's true. That would be so funny to watch a sketch of like someone tells a funny joke, someone's about on their deathbed, they do a sketch, boom, he wakes up and he's fine.
Oh, here on this, or when people are terminal, they bring in a comic to push them over the edge and to kill them, kind of.
Wow, okay.
To help him die, but at least he dies with a smile.
That's a good idea. But yeah, we've got a few different episodes coming up. I think we're going to get a sitcom writer coming up. Just need to confirm the dates. I've got that coming up. Yeah, I've got loads of different kind of comics coming up. I've got a professional comedian in Australia that's been going for 30 years coming up as well. So I'll see you guys soon.
There you go. Yeah. All right, man. You take care.